Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be the last part of the 3-series video that I'm doing about success, depression, and simplicity. So today's topic is obviously going to be the last one, which is simplicity. So when it comes to simplicity, I guess a preface to this video before I go more into depth on it is that I'm in no way bashing, being famous or being successful. I don't think that those are necessarily terrible things to be. I just think that in relation to those things, like I've mentioned in my previous video in this series, there is a level of, I guess, responsibility that comes with them that sometimes can be a lot to handle. And I think that's where people can start feeling overwhelmed and getting anxious and depressed. But in no way am I saying that fame or success is a bad thing. Not at all. But it's just sometimes how people cope with it that can be bad for them. So in terms of simplicity, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be like a minimalist or you have to go live in the mountains and renounce the world or anything. That's not what I mean by simplicity. For me, simplicity means having minimal expectations and being grateful. And by minimal expectations, I don't mean that expecting less of yourself or not going after what you want in life, because that's what drives us in life. But by minimal expectations, I mean don't think that because I put in this amount of work, I should get this, or the feeling of entitlement shouldn't be there. If you're doing something, it should be, again, like I always say, for the love of the process, not only of the end result. The process is always more important. So if you're doing something solely for an end result, I feel like that's when you start building up expectations, and when they don't get met, you start becoming frustrated and disappointed, and you question, like, why did I even start this journey in the first place? And then, of course, being grateful, that comes with enjoying the process and whatever so-called successes you do get along the way. Instead of feeling like you're entitled to them, it's more of like, oh wow, this happened, that's great, and I'm going to continue, and I'm going to keep enjoying the process. And I say this because if we always chase after something, or we always think we need something tangible out of what we put effort into, then we're always going to be chasing after something, because we're going to think, oh, well, once I get this, then I'll be happy. Once I have this relationship, I'll be happier. Once I have this job, I'll be happy. And that's not necessarily true. Yes, they can add and enhance your life, but they're not going to be the sole cause of your happiness. And the thing is, once we start putting all of that pressure on one goal, once we get it, then we're going to chase after something else, because then we're going to feel unsatisfied again. It's going to be like, once we get that one goal, it'll make us feel satisfied for a little bit, but then we'll be like, okay, now what's the next thing? So if we only pursue something for the sole purpose of thinking that it's going to make us happy once we get to an end goal, we're always going to be chasing after something, and we won't ever truly be happy. And this is where I reiterate that you need to appreciate the whole process and the whole journey, not just the end goal. And then I also want to say that, of course, being famous is, it's a nice thing in terms of, getting recognition, getting your career ahead and things like that. But just having fame, money, or material things aren't the only marks of success. And if you don't have all of those things, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. For some, truly having the bare minimum but not being tied down to a certain expectation of life is happiness for them. And that's why I always believe that happiness is what truly success is. It's not necessarily getting, everyone knowing your name or everyone knowing what you did. It's, maybe a select few people know what you did, but you really impacted them. That's where happiness comes from, for me personally. And for some people, having that fame and, recognition is something that they want, but it's because they truly want it for themselves, not just to show it off to the world, I guess. That's not their primary goal. And I think that, in a way, we start to perpetuate certain things, or we think certain things are only worth mentioning if they're done in a certain way. So when someone decides, oh, I don't want a typical 9 to 5, I want to live a life different than that, we start shaming them for that. Or it could be even the opposite way, when everyone's, for example, like, everyone's on a trend of being an entrepreneur, and someone's like, you know what, I'm actually happy with the 9 to 5 life. Then we start criticizing them for that too, like, oh, why are you so comfortable working for someone else for the rest of your life? And it's like, why do we have to keep criticizing other people's decisions? If they're happy in their life and they want that for their life, good for them. Why do we need to nitpick at them? And this is also, I guess, related to the Sushant Singh Rajput case, where I believe that, fans' praise versus the industry also comes into play. Because it's not that Sushant Singh Rajput didn't have a loyal fan base. When he was still on television, he's had a loyal fan base since his television days until he made it to Bollywood. And I think a lot of, the public did appreciate his work. But then maybe, through the industry, while some people in the industry definitely appreciated him, he didn't get, again, the recognition that he deserved. And that's where I think personally, when it comes to fame and success, it's better to have a loyal fan base versus everyone just kind of generally liking you because it's a trend. And that does happen. Sometimes we start liking a certain actor or actress because it becomes a trend. Everyone likes them, so I should like them too. And it's we just like them, but then we don't really know much about them, know much about their work, know about their, the underground work that they've done, maybe work that, or cinema, or anything else that is kind of I guess, in a way the general public doesn't know about or the mass media doesn't know about. And so this is where I think, having a loyal fan base is definitely better than just, constantly having everyone just know a little bit about you. Because having a loyal fan base means that, yeah, you grow and evolve along your journey, but your fans kind of understand that. And they also understand that you're not a perfect person. And that's very important too, I think. When it comes to success and fame, people start to think that these people that are so famous and successful can't do any wrong, or can never make mistakes, or can't even be human. And it's that's not true. They are just, they're human like us at the end of the day. They're going to have some mistakes that they make. They're going to maybe be in some films that don't do so well. But does that mean they're a horrible artist? Not necessarily. It just means that that's a part of their growing process. And they need us to still, provide feedback for them. If they see that their loyal fan base doesn't really enjoy their work, or they give them constructive criticism for their work, that's how they grow. We don't need to bash them, but we just need to be okay, maybe this piece of work was something different you tried, but maybe, it wasn't the best script or the best whatever, and you should try something else. And I think this is where, the industry kind of, it values a one-track formula. Sometimes I feel it doesn't value creativity, especially the Bollywood industry, because in terms of, let's say, nepotism and movie scripts, when they figure out, when they say something oh, there's going to be a star cast and this is going to be an action film, everyone flocks to the theaters to go see it. But when it's something different and there's not a star cast, everyone's oh yeah, I might just illegally download the movie, but am I going to go to the movie theater and see it? No. And this is what I was saying in my last video, where we should start supporting cinema or supporting art that isn't mainstream in that sense financially, because we need that balance. And I'm not saying that so-called commercial cinema is all bad and we need to get rid of it altogether, but there needs to be a balance. And then fame or no fame, I think representation is key. And not just in terms of the movie industry, but life in general. Like I was saying with, some people being okay with a 9-to-5, or some people wanting to be an entrepreneur, some people just wanting to maybe just go out and live off grid in nature. Representation of everything is key. And if we're always fed one way of life from the day we're born, people might not realize that they might actually find true happiness in a different way of life if they're only fed that one image and that this is the only way you can be happy or you can have success. And also in terms of just being, appreciating everything you have in life and being grateful, I think nurturing relationships, talking about your feelings, and not letting your worth only be defined by numbers or what you've achieved in life is crucial as well. Because everyone doesn't have to like you for you to be worthy of life. And I feel in a way, maybe that is something that contributed to Sushant Singh's suicide, because I think he was kind of, I don't want to say he was desperate, but I think in a way he wanted a lot of the industry to probably like him. And in a way, maybe it just got to his head and he thought, well, if no one's appreciating my work, what do I do? And unfortunately, maybe he thought that taking his life was the answer. And I just want to say that everyone doesn't have to like you or your work or what you stand for you to be worthy as a person. Yes, there might be a select few people that do like you, great, but you don't have to please everyone. And one of my personal mottos of life is, as humans, it's our duty to help everyone, but not please everyone. Pleasing your own self that's your job. It's not anyone else's job, and it's not your job to please anyone else. Help? Yes. There's a difference between helping someone and pleasing someone, and we need to help others, but it's not our responsibility to please everyone, because that's like a responsibility that isn't ever even going to come true. Because everyone's desires are going to keep changing, and like I said, if you keep changing with everyone's desires, I think you start becoming lost and losing what you want and what you stand for and what truly makes you happy. And as far as, success or tangible goals go, while, having titles, awards, degrees, recognition are all great, they're not the only things that matter in life, and they're not those tangible things aren't going to go with us to the grave. It's more of the legacy we leave behind that's going to stay when we pass away from this world. And we can still leave a legacy behind without having all of these things. It's when we do things out of passion, out of joy, and out of wanting to make a difference in the world, not solely for name and fame. You don't have to be famous to donate money or to create a wonderful piece of art that makes an impact. You don't need to be famous to do those things. Does fame help? Yes. But is it the only thing that matters? No. And those we should think of as bonuses. If along the way, like I said, if along the way of pursuing our dreams, we do get fame, great. But it's a bonus. It's not the only goal. And I was actually watching someone else's YouTube channel kind of talk about, the nepotism versus, talent-based part of Bollywood. And I will link that video in the description below. It is in Hindi, so some of you might not understand it. I'm not sure if it has subtitles, but if it doesn't, and those of you that can't speak Hindi can understand it, then I would recommend you watch it. This person breaks it down amazingly, but he does talk about how, with, for example, the movie industry, how nepotism, people who become famous from solely nepotism, not from solely their talent, is because they're chasing fame. But those that do get their recognition after years of hard work, they do it because they have the love of acting. They're not out here trying to chase fame. They're out here trying to chase the fire in their belly that they get when they act. And I'm not saying, obviously there's exceptions to the rules of nepotism. There are, people who have been products of nepotism that have gone on to do actual talented and wonderful cinema. But generally, people who get launched very early or they haven't even had the credentials in acting, it's maybe because, their PR team or everyone's trying to get them to chase just fame and just to get on a headline or a newspaper, not necessarily to create a long-lasting body of work that will make an impact. And last but not least, in terms of, people's mental state and, appreciating the simplicity in life, reach out to people. Not just, if you're going through something, but also if you see someone going through something. Showing you care doesn't make you clingy and annoying. It's just showing that you care and that you want to help this person if you see that they're going through something and it's concerning you. And sometimes those that seem that they have it together all the time and are always smiling and helping others with their problems, sometimes they might be hiding stuff that's going on inside them and they don't want to tell anyone because they're going to feel like a burden. And I think that's one thing that happened maybe with Sushant Singh Rajput, is that he was always smiling. Everyone who talked to him or was working with him was he gave off an energy that is just infectiously happy. But sometimes those people that seem infectiously happy all the time, they might have a lot of things going on within them that they're really afraid to talk about, or they feel like, their problems aren't worth sharing with anyone. And so please, please, please do reach out to people if you see that they need help. And it really makes a world of a difference, because you never know, maybe that person really needed you to just sit down and listen to them and help them. And last but not least, I want to say in terms of simplicity and I guess valuing the simplicity of life is that I truly do feel like you can have it all. You can have a good, let's say like a good career, good relationships, good everything. I believe you can have it all, but that comes with time. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes you have to make mistakes. Sometimes you have to know that something, you have to experience something that you realize isn't for you to know that it's not for you. And that doesn't mean that you're a failure of a person or that, you can't have what you want out of life. It's just, it's part of the process. And I think appreciating the simplicity of life and letting it, infiltrate your life comes from, like I said, not expecting things out of life or not feeling entitled to things and just being grateful for everything that comes your way and every opportunity that comes your way. So I hope this video series did help you guys, and I'm going to obviously continue making content like this. So if you do like content like this, then please do like this video, please do share it, and please do subscribe. I hope you guys are all taking care of yourselves and staying happy and healthy. Take care, everyone. Bye.